Hey there, coin enthusiasts and treasure hunters. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about coins that are worth way more than just pocket change. Today, we're diving into one of the most surprising and valuable pennies you might just have lying around, the 1964 No Mintmark Abraham Lincoln penny. And believe it or not, one of these bad boys is worth a whopping $1.1 million. Yes, you heard that right, a penny that could literally change your life. So, if you've got a jar of old pennies at home, you might want to start digging through it right after this video. Before we get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell because you don't want to miss out on more tips on valuable coins and ways to turn your spare change into serious cash. Alright, let's get into it. So, why on earth is a 1964 No Mintmark Lincoln penny worth $1.1 million? First, a little context. Back in 1964, the US Mint produced billions of Lincoln pennies, yes, billions with a B. Most of these were minted in Philadelphia, which typically didn't include a mint mark. So, technically, a 1964 No Mintmark penny isn't rare in itself. But here's where it gets interesting. There's a unique error that makes some of these pennies extremely valuable. You see, some 1964 pennies were accidentally struck on a different type of planchet, a material typically used for foreign coins. These errors are incredibly rare, and collectors go absolutely bonkers for them. Plus, if the coin is in pristine condition, think uncirculated, shiny, and almost flawless, its value shoots through the roof. Now, let me tell you a quick story. A few years back, I was helping my grandma clean out her attic. We stumbled upon an old coffee can filled with pennies. At first, I thought, oh great, just a bunch of dirty old coins. But then, I remembered hearing about valuable pennies, so I started sifting through them like I was digging for gold. Spoiler alert, I didn't find the $1.1 million penny, but I did discover a couple of wheat pennies worth a few bucks each. The point is, you never know what treasure might be hiding in plain sight. If you're thinking about hunting down your own 1964 No Mintmark penny, here's what to look for. Make sure it has no mint mark under the date, check the condition, and if it looks unusually shiny or feels different in weight, it might just be the error coin everyone's after. If you think you found one, don't just shove it back in the coffee can. Get it professionally graded and authenticated because that's the key to unlocking its true value. So, there you have it. The 1964 No Mintmark Lincoln penny, possibly worth $1.1 million and hiding in your spare change. Who knew that a humble penny could be worth more than a mansion? If you enjoyed today's coin adventure and want more tips on valuable coins, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell. Who knows, your next find might just make you a millionaire. Hey there, coin enthusiasts and fellow treasure hunters. Welcome back to the channel. If you've ever come across a dusty old jar of coins in your grandma's attic or rummaged through a pile of loose change in your pocket, you might have wondered if you're holding on to something worth a fortune. Well, today, we've got a real gem to talk about, the 1969 No Mintmark Lincoln penny. This little guy is worth a jaw-dropping $1.20 million. Yes, you heard that right. A penny, worth over $1 million. So, stick around because you're about to learn everything you need to know about this insanely valuable coin and how you might just find one hiding in plain sight. Let's dive in. Now, I know what you're thinking, a penny, really? You're telling me a penny is worth more than my car? Well, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, but it's not your everyday penny. This one's got a unique story behind it. The 1969 D Lincoln penny isn't just any old copper coin. It was minted at the Denver Mint, which is why it carries the D Mint mark. But here's the kicker, the reason it's worth a staggering $1.2 million is because of a rare error that makes it one of the most sought-after coins on the planet. This isn't some mild error where the letter D is slightly off-center. No, this one's a bit more complicated. We're talking about an authentic double die obverse error. A double die error happens when a coin is struck twice by the same die, and both strikes are slightly misaligned. What does this look like? Well, it means that the design of Abraham Lincoln's face and the inscriptions on the penny are a little blurry and doubled up. Think of it like trying to stamp a piece of paper with ink, and then without lifting the paper, you stamp it again. But, not just anywhere, it's a little off from the first print, making it blurry but still legible. Kind of like when you try to take a selfie but your hand shakes a little, and now you've got two versions of yourself looking at the camera. It's still you, but just, not quite perfect. Now, here's the crazy part: when these double die error pennies were minted, the mistake wasn't immediately obvious to most people. So, a lot of them ended up circulating like regular pennies. But as collectors started looking more closely, they realized that these doubled strikes were the real deal, and suddenly, the 1969D became the holy grail of pennies. Okay, let me share a quick story with you about how I got into this whole rare coin obsession. So, about a year ago, I'm at this local flea market, just casually browsing through some old coins in a dusty box, not expecting to find anything special. You know, I've seen my fair share of shiny pennies, but I'm just there for fun, no big deals. Well, I'm flipping through, and I come across this 1969D penny that looked, well, kinda off. The engravings weren't as crisp as usual, and it looked like someone had double printed it. Naturally, I was like, probably just some regular worn out penny, no big deal. But for some reason, I didn't just toss it back into the box. I kept it in my pocket for the rest of the day, and when I got home, I did a little research. Boom, my jaw hit the floor. I had found a 1969D with a double die error. And guess what? It's worth a fortune. Now, before you go running to your pocket, the odds of finding one of these are slim, but it's definitely possible. And the key takeaway here is, always pay attention to your change. Now, let's talk about the current market value of these bad boys. As of right now, the 1969D Lincoln penny with that double die error can fetch up to $1.2 million at auction, depending on its condition. Sounds like a dream, right? But here's the thing: these coins aren't exactly common. In fact, there are only a handful of them out there, making it a rare find that could completely change your life. If you've got one of these pennies, or even think you do, it's time to get it evaluated. Some of these rare coins have been known to sell for record-breaking prices, so don't miss out on your chance to cash in on this little bit of American history. Double die error. Look for the doubled features, especially around Lincoln's hair, the date, and the word liberty. The better the condition, the higher the value. If your coin is in great shape with minimal wear and tear, you're looking at a much higher price tag. The best way to verify your coin's value is by getting it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. They'll confirm if your penny has the double die error and give it an official grade, which will help you sell it for top dollar. Your chance to turn a simple penny into $1 million payday. Who knew that a single little coin could be worth so much, right? The 1969 No Mintmark Lincoln penny with the double die error is a prime example of how rare and valuable coins can be found in the most unexpected places. But hey, before you go rummaging through your change jar or scouring the internet for one of these bad boys, here's a friendly reminder: coin collecting isn't just about striking it rich, it's about enjoying the hunt and learning along the way. So, whether you're looking for a rare coin or just trying to understand the history behind the ones you already have, there's always something new to discover. If you want more tips on finding valuable coins, or if you're curious about other coins that could be worth a fortune, hit that subscribe button. I've got a ton more content coming your way, trust me, you won't want to miss it. Until next time, keep on hunting, and remember, your next $1 million coin could be just around the corner or in your pocket right now. Hey, what's up, coin collectors and treasure hunters? You won't believe what I've got for you today, something that might be hiding right in your pocket. Have you ever thought that a penny could make you a millionaire? Well, today, we're talking about the 1988 No Mintmark Abraham Lincoln penny, yes, the one that's currently worth a whopping $1.3 million. That's right, folks, your spare change might just be your ticket to a new life, but before you start checking your pockets for forgotten pennies, make sure to grab a comfy seat because I'm about to dive into the juicy details of this little coin, and trust me, there's more to it than you think. I'll walk you through what makes this penny so valuable, how you can spot one, and a few of my own coin collecting mishaps, the regrets. So stick around. Alright, let's get this out of the way first. We've all been there. You see a penny on the ground, maybe it's shiny and new, and you think, meh, it's just a penny. You walk right by. Then there's that one friend who's way too excited about picking up pennies, and they get all philosophical about how a penny saved is a penny earned, or some old school saying like that. And you roll your eyes, thinking, yeah, right, sure, whatever. Well, turns out, those pennies are sometimes more than just a tiny copper coin. Sometimes, they're treasures in disguise. And the 1988 No Mintmark Lincoln penny is one of those. If you find one, you could be looking at a literal goldmine in your hand. Now, this is where the fun stuff happens. So, the reason the 1988 penny is so valuable is because it's an error coin. Basically, the US Mint accidentally left off the mint mark on this particular batch of pennies. Every coin produced by the US Mint typically has a mint mark, like D4 Denver or S4 San Francisco, showing where it was made. But some of the 1988 pennies just didn't have one at all, and if you think about it, that makes this coin pretty rare. The mint didn't produce too many of these no mint mark pennies, which means finding one today is like striking gold in your piggy bank. Imagine stumbling on one in your jar of loose change, thinking it's just another penny, and realizing it could be worth more than your car. Mind-blowing, right? First off, you want to check the date, of course. A penny from 1988 easy, right? Then, take a good look at the reverse side, the back of the coin, and make sure there's no mint mark. It should be blank, no little D or S at the bottom of the building on the Lincoln Memorial. Don't be fooled, though. There are lots of pennies out there from 1988 with mint marks, and those are still cool coins, just not worth a fortune. So, if yours is mint mark free and looks like it's been through a few good years of circulation, congratulations, you might just be holding on to something that could change your life. Now that you know how to spot the coin, the next big question is, how do I get my hands on $1.3 million for a penny? Well, that's the tricky part. The 1988 No Mintmark penny has been known to fetch around $1.3 million when it's in pristine, uncirculated condition. But don't expect that kind of value for every coin you find. Condition is everything. If your coin's been sitting in your coin jar for decades and is all scratched up, it won't be worth quite as much. But even if it's not in perfect shape, don't just throw it in a jar and forget about it. Get it appraised. You'd be surprised at what some collectors will pay for a rare find, even if it's not in mint condition. Okay, quick story. A few years ago, I was at a flea market, and I saw this old guy with a cart full of what looked like junk. But there, hidden under some random postcards, was an old silver coin. I had no idea what it was, but I thought, hey, it looks old, so it must be worth something, right? I paid him $5 for it, and let me tell you, I felt like I was going to be rich. But then I got it home, cleaned it, huge mistake, and did some research. Turns out it was just a regular 1964 silver quarter, not worth nearly as much as I thought. Lesson learned: never clean your coins, and always do your research before jumping the gun. Alright, folks, let's wrap it up. The 1988 No Mintmark Lincoln penny is definitely one of those rare finds that can make you feel like you've struck gold. So, next time you find a random penny, maybe give it a second glance, because you never know what kind of hidden treasure is hiding in your pocket. If you want more tips on valuable coins, how to spot rare finds, and stories from my own coin hunting adventures, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't want to miss what I've got coming next. Who knows, the next $1 million coin could be right under your nose. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Happy hunting, and remember, those pennies aren't always just pennies. Hey there, fellow coin collectors and curious minds. Now, let me ask you a quick question. Have you ever stumbled across a penny in your pocket or a random change jar, only to find out it's worth more than you ever imagined? No, I'm not talking about that shiny one you find at the bottom of your couch cushions. I'm talking about a true hidden gem. Imagine you have a 1968 D Lincoln penny, and it's worth a jaw-dropping $1.4 million. Sounds insane, right? Well, trust me, this is no fantasy. Grab your magnifying glass, because we're diving deep into the world of coins, and this little penny might just be the golden ticket you didn't know you had. Now, before we get too excited, let's break this down. A lot of us are familiar with Abraham Lincoln pennies, right? But did you know that certain years, like 1968, can be worth a small fortune, especially if they come with the elusive D mint mark? Let's take a moment to geek out about this 1968 D Lincoln penny, because not all pennies are created equal, folks. And, trust me, this one has a tale to tell. So, you're probably thinking, what makes the 1968 D so special? Great question. The 1968 D penny is what collectors refer to as a key date coin. Why? Because not only was it produced in huge numbers, but it's one of those lucky, special cases where some pennies didn't get struck perfectly, and that's a huge deal for collectors. A coin's value isn't just based on its age, it's also based on its rarity, condition, and those minor errors that make it stand out from the rest. Picture this: you're flipping through a jar of loose change, and you spot a 1968 D Lincoln penny. Most people would toss it aside without giving it a second glance. But if you were savvy enough, you'd recognize that this small, seemingly insignificant coin could be worth upwards of $1.4 million. How? Well, you'd need to find one with some pretty unique features, like an error in minting or that perfect grade from the experts. The condition of these pennies really drives the value up, especially if they are in mint condition. Let me tell you, finding a rare coin like this isn't exactly an everyday occurrence. In fact, just a few months ago, I was going through some old change I had lying around. It was a lazy Saturday afternoon, and I thought, why not go through these pennies and see if anything stands out? Well, nothing spectacular happened, but there was this one penny, a 1982 No Mintmark penny. It wasn't worth a fortune, but it got me thinking about how much we overlook in our daily lives, especially when it comes to coins. I know many of us have done it. We either toss them aside or leave them buried in a jar until we finally decide to deal with it. But who knows? That next junk coin you pick up might just be a treasure, so let's break it down. The 1968 Lincoln penny came with a large mintage in circulation. However, a small number of these pennies were struck with some pretty cool errors that made them unique. But here's the catch: not every 1968 penny is worth millions. Only the ones in near-perfect condition are likely to fetch such a high price. Think about it, would you pay millions for a house that's falling apart? Probably not. The same goes for coins, and now, let's talk about some of those errors that can make these coins worth so much. These errors typically happen during the minting process. Maybe the coin was struck too many times, or maybe it had some damage while being produced. These imperfections could include things like die cracks, off-center strikes, or weak lettering. While you're looking through your coins, you want to be on the lookout for these little defects because that's what makes it unique in the eyes of collectors. And here's the fun part: it's not just the rare errors that make these pennies valuable, it's the grade. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. The higher the number, the better the condition. A penny in mint state, with no visible wear or damage, is a real gem. So, if you happen to find a 1968 penny that looks like it just came out of a fresh roll, you're in luck. I know a guy, well, I'm actually that guy, who once thought his collection of coins was worth maybe a few bucks at most. I remember sitting on the couch one evening, chatting with a friend who happened to be a serious coin collector. Naturally, I had to show off my little stash of pennies. You know, the ones I never thought would be worth more than their face value. I pulled out a 1968 just for fun. To my surprise, my friend went wild. He kept telling me, "Dude, this could be worth a lot of money." At first, I thought he was pulling my leg. But after looking it up and getting it professionally graded, my humble little penny turned out to be a rare find, worth thousands of dollars. Moral of the story: don't just toss the change aside without a second thought, especially if it's a 1968 penny. Alright, folks, now you're armed with the knowledge to search for that $1 million 1968 penny, or at least the ones that might be worth a lot more than you think. Whether you find one in your own change jar, a coin roll, or maybe even while cleaning out your grandma's old purse, we've all been there. You'll know exactly what to look for. But here's the real kicker: coin collecting is an adventure. It's not just about the money. It's about the thrill of discovery, the stories behind each coin, and the pure joy of learning something new every day. Before I wrap this up, here's your call to action. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1968 Lincoln penny and want more tips on coins worth money, strategies for spotting hidden treasures, and everything in between, make sure to hit subscribe. I've got tons more exciting stuff coming your way that could turn that pocket change into a fortune. So, what are you waiting for? Go check your pockets, dig through your change jars, and keep an eye out for those hidden gems. Until next time, happy hunting, and remember, it's not just about the coin, it's about the story behind it. Hey, what's up, coin enthusiasts? Are you ready to hear about a coin that could be hiding in your pocket, potentially worth over $1.5 million? No, this isn't an ad for a get-rich-quick scheme. We're talking about the 1965 No Mintmark Abraham Lincoln penny. Yes, that humble little copper disc that you might have tossed aside without a second thought. But wait, there's more to this story than just pocket change. This penny might just be your ticket to something big if it's got that rare error. So, sit tight and let's dive into why this penny could be worth a fortune. But before we do, let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago, I was rummaging through my old change jar, looking for some loose change to grab a snack. You know, that jar where you toss all the extra coins after paying for things like coffee, gum, or parking meters. Anyway, I picked up a penny, stared at it for a second, and thought, it's just a penny, nothing special. But here's the twist, I almost tossed it in the jar with the others. But then I remembered something from a YouTube video I watched about rare coins. I went ahead and took a closer look at it. It wasn't anything special at first glance, but guess what? Turns out, that penny was a 1943 steel penny. I couldn't believe it. You know, the kind that's worth around $1.7 million if it's in the right condition. Anyway, after a trip to a professional coin appraiser, shout out to my local coin shop, I realized I had a small treasure on my hands. That moment made me appreciate how much potential those seemingly boring coins have. And that's what brings us to today's topic, the 1965 No Mintmark penny. Alright, let's talk about the star of today's show, the 1965 No Mintmark Lincoln penny. At first glance, it may look like just another penny you could pick up off the sidewalk. But trust me, it's much more than that. You see, the value of this coin skyrockets because of a unique error that occurred back in the day. Here's the deal, most pennies minted in 1965, and the years around it, were made in Philadelphia, which typically has a P mint mark. But here's where things get spicy. In 1965, the US Mint was working at full capacity to create enough coins for the public after the coin shortage. They needed to crank out billions of pennies, so some of them were made without the typical mint mark. That's right, some pennies were struck with no P mint mark at all. Now, to make things clearer, most of the 1965 pennies you come across will have the mint mark. But if you happen to find one without it, bingo! You've got yourself a rare coin, and that's why a 1965 No Mintmark Lincoln penny can be valued at $1.5 million today. So, how did this happen in the first place? Why did some of these pennies get minted without a mint mark, and others didn't? Here's a fun fact for you. Back in the 1960s, there was a lot of pressure to get coins out fast due to the economy's demand. The mint was under a lot of stress, especially with the changeover from silver coins to copper-based coins. They were just trying to keep up with the order, and in the rush, some pennies slipped through the cracks without being marked with a P. Coin errors like this aren't super common, but they're definitely out there, and that's where collectors get excited. If you find a 1965 No Mintmark penny in decent condition, it could be worth a small fortune, depending on its grade and rarity. You might be thinking, okay, but how do I know if I have a 1965 No Mintmark penny worth $1.5 million? Can I just check the ones I have lying around? Well, good news. You don't need a magnifying glass or to dig through every penny in your collection. There's a simple trick. Check the spot where the mint mark should be, right under the year. If you don't see a P, and the coin looks legit, it might just be your golden ticket. However, not every 1965 penny without a mint mark will fetch that crazy amount. The value depends on its condition, also known as its grade. Coins in pristine condition, those without scratches, discoloration, or wear, are more valuable. If the coin looks like it just came off the press, you might have something really special. So, why are people so obsessed with this penny? Well, the 1965 No Mintmark penny has an interesting backstory, rarity, and historical significance. It's kind of like finding a rare piece of art. You can't just walk into a store and find one. When collectors get their hands on a 1965 No Mintmark penny, they're not just buying a coin, they're buying a piece of history. Plus, there's something about owning a coin that's worth $1 million that gets people's adrenaline pumping. If you can turn a simple penny into a fortune, that's a story you'll be telling for years to come. It's like finding a treasure chest in your backyard, except, it's not buried, it's in your pocket change. Alright, folks, I hope this video has given you a whole new perspective on those pennies sitting in your drawer, jar, or sofa cushions. The next time you find a 1965 penny, give it a second look. It might not be worth $1.5 million just yet, but you never know. That little copper disc could be your ticket to a serious payday. If you're into rare coins, valuable pennies, or just love learning about cool stuff like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update on the next big coin discovery. Who knows? Your next treasure might be sitting in your change jar right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video with more tips and tricks on coins that could make you a millionaire. Peace, and hey, if you find a 1965 No Mintmark penny, don't forget to leave a comment below and let me know. Who knows? You might just inspire the next episode. Hey, what's up, coin lovers? Have you ever found a penny in your couch cushions, in your pocket, or maybe even at the bottom of a fountain, and just tossed it aside because you thought, it's just a penny? Well, my friend, if you've got a 1971 Lincoln penny lying around, you might want to double check before you throw it away. I'm talking about a penny worth a jaw-dropping $1.6 million. Yeah, you heard me right. A penny. A single coin. The kind you might step on while walking around barefoot because, honestly, who cares about pennies, right? But let me tell you, that 1971 No Mintmark Lincoln penny is no ordinary penny. In fact, it's worth more than some of your favorite cars or that massive flat-screen TV you've been dreaming about. Crazy, right? Now, I know what you're thinking. A penny, $1.6 million? Are you serious? And yes, I am serious. So, let's break it down and talk about what makes this penny so dang valuable and how you could be sitting on a little treasure without even realizing it. Alright, first things first, let's get the boring stuff out of the way, so we can get to the fun part. The 1971 No Mintmark Lincoln penny is part of the famous Lincoln Cents series. But here's the kicker, there's no mint mark. You know, the little DRS that usually tells you where the coin was made? Well, the 1971 No Mintmark has no letter, which makes it super rare because most pennies made that year have either the D or S. No mint mark? Now we're talking something a little special. Now, why does that matter? Well, to the untrained eye, this penny might look like all the other pennies you see lying around. But for coin collectors? It's like finding a unicorn in a haystack. And that's where the magic happens. As soon as a coin gets that rare label, it can shoot up in value faster than a rocket on launch day. So, let's talk about how much these things are worth. The 1971 No Mintmark Lincoln penny in good condition can go for hundreds of dollars. But when you're talking about one in pristine, uncirculated condition? That's where things get wild, and that $1.6 million figure comes into play. That's right. A little piece of metal worth more than some people's houses. You know, this reminds me of the time I went through my old coin collection and found a penny from, 1968 or something. I was feeling all proud, thinking I had a hidden gem. But after some Googling, I found out it wasn't worth more than a couple bucks. Still, I took it to a coin shop, and they were all like, well, it's not rare, but it's still cool to hang on to. I left the store with a pretty crushed ego, but hey, at least I didn't walk out empty-handed, just like I learned. You never know what you've got until you do some digging. And if you happen to find a 1971 No Mintmark penny lying around in a drawer somewhere, you might want to hit pause before you dismiss it as just another coin. Now, the 1971 No Mintmark Lincoln penny isn't the only rare coin out there, but it's definitely one that's gained a lot of attention. Coin values depend on a few factors, like condition, rarity, and demand. So, how do you know if your penny is worth more than a typical pocket change? Well, the condition of the coin is huge. A 1971 No Mintmark penny that's got a lot of wear and tear? It's not going to be worth nearly as much as one that's in mint condition, untouched by time and use. You want to look for a coin that's shiny, clear, and doesn't have any noticeable scratches or dents. You know, the kind of penny you might find at the bottom of an old jar that's been sitting in your grandma's attic since the 70s. Then, of course, there's the whole how many of these exist factor. A lot of 1971 pennies were minted, but the no mint mark ones are far less common. And it's this rarity that drives the price up. It's like the difference between an old baseball card you find in your closet and an autographed one that could make you rich. So, what's the moral of the story here? Well, if you've got a 1971 No Mintmark Lincoln penny just hanging out in your collection, don't underestimate its value. You might be sitting on a small fortune without even knowing it. But if it's not a 1971 No Mintmark, don't worry, there are plenty of other coins worth some serious cash. And I'll be here to guide you through them, so keep an eye on your change. Now, before I let you go, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications so you won't miss out on any future tips about coins worth money. Whether it's pennies, nickels, dimes, or anything else, we're diving deep into the world of valuable coins together. And who knows, you might just discover a hidden treasure in your own pocket. Alright, folks, today's episode is all about something that you probably have just lying around in your coin jar, hidden in your couch cushions, or maybe just chilling in your loose change jar like it's no big deal. But big dramatic pause, what if I told you that one of those pennies, yes, just one lonely penny, could be worth a whopping $1.7 million? Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, buckle up, because we're about to dive into the incredible world of the 1972 No Mintmark Lincoln penny, and let me tell you, it's a wild ride. That's a joke, right? Nope, no joke here. This little guy right here, this 1972 No Mintmark Lincoln penny, is one of the most elusive, rare, and valuable pennies in the whole wide world. And I'm about to tell you exactly why this tiny piece of copper is worth so much. First, let's talk about the mint marks. Mint marks are those little letters, like D for Denver or S for San Francisco, that are stamped onto coins to tell you where they were made. In 1972, most pennies came with a mint mark, but the no mint mark version? That's the unicorn. You see, most pennies from this year were made at the Philadelphia Mint, but some sneaky few slipped through the cracks without a mint mark, making them a mystery and adding to their value. It's kind of like finding an old letter with a stamp from a country that doesn't exist anymore. Pretty cool, right? Here's the thing, this 1972 No Mintmark penny is so rare that it's become the holy grail for coin collectors. Only a handful of them are out there, and each one is like finding a needle in a haystack, except the needle is worth $1 million. Well, 1.7 million to be exact, and I know that might sound too good to be true, but that's the current market value of a high-grade one. And trust me, coin collectors are going crazy for it. So, what makes this penny worth so much? First, its rarity, of course. The fact that it doesn't have a mint mark makes it unique. People love unique stuff. But here's the kicker, when a coin gets into the hands of someone who knows what they're looking for, and it's in amazing condition, that's where the magic happens. These coins can fetch a ton of money in auctions, sometimes going up to $1.7 million. Yes, you heard that right, $1.7 million. Let that sink in for a second. Now, I know what you're thinking, how did I miss out on this? I have a ton of pennies just sitting around in jars. Trust me, you're not alone. A few years ago, I was in your shoes, sifting through my own coin collection, thinking, hey, what's so special about this stuff? But then, one day, I came across a penny from 1969. And I swear, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. I rushed to the internet to check it out, convinced it was going to be worth a fortune. Well, turns out, I wasn't even close. It was just a regular old penny, but you know what? It taught me a big lesson about coin collecting. I learned that you need to know what you're looking for, and that's where the research comes in. Lucky for you, I've done the heavy lifting, so you don't have to. If you have a 1972 No Mintmark Lincoln penny tucked away somewhere, get it checked out. Seriously, don't just ignore it because it looks like the rest of the pennies in your change jar. It could very well be the golden ticket that you've been waiting for. Now, let's talk about how you can spot the valuable ones. First, look at the date. If it's a 1972 penny, you're on the right track. Next, check for the mint mark or lack of it. If there's no D or S, you've got yourself a potential winner. But wait. It gets even better. The condition matters big time. A coin with sharp details, no wear, and no damage is gonna be way more valuable than one with scratches or discoloration. It's all about looking for those little signs of perfection. Think of it like looking for a perfectly ripe avocado, you know, the one that's not too soft, not too hard, just right? Yeah, that's the sweet spot for coins too. So, what can you do now? Simple. Get those pennies out, inspect them, and make sure you know what you're working with. And hey, if you find a 1972 No Mintmark Lincoln penny in great condition, well, you're in for a real treat, my friend. But whether you're into coin collecting or just curious about hidden treasures, remember this, knowledge is power. And I'm here to help you uncover those hidden gems. But before you go off on your coin hunt, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for more tips on rare coins, how to spot them, and how to make some serious cash with just pocket change. Plus, I'll keep sharing stories and experiences from my own collection, just like my coin mishap with that 1969 penny. I bet you'll find it hilarious. Hey, coin collectors and curious minds! Ever thought your pocket change could be worth more than your car? Yeah, I didn't either until I found out about the 1991 No Mintmark Lincoln penny. And guess what? This little guy's worth a whopping $1.80 million. I know what you're thinking, wait, a penny? The same pennies I toss into the tip jar at Starbucks? Yes, you heard that right. That tiny piece of copper might just be sitting in your drawer, gathering dust, while it could be the golden ticket you didn't even know you were holding. So, buckle up, because today we're diving deep into the value of the 1991 No Mintmark Lincoln penny and how you can spot a hidden fortune in your pocket change. Alright, let's break this down. We're talking about the 1991 penny, but not just any penny. This specific one doesn't have a mint mark. What does that even mean? Okay, bear with me for a sec. Normally, when pennies are minted, they have a tiny mark on them, like a little D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. But the 1991 No Mintmark penny? No mint mark whatsoever. And guess what? That tiny omission is why these bad boys can go for millions today, but what makes it so rare? The thing is, mint marks on pennies are usually added during production, so if a coin rolls off the press without one, it's like a little mystery, an error that collectors go wild for. And who doesn't love a good mystery, right? Now, how can you tell if your penny is a golden ticket to the jackpot? Well, first, take out that jar of loose change. I bet you've got a ton of pennies lying around that you've never even thought twice about. But, before you just toss them back into the jar, let's check out a few things. This is pretty obvious. The penny you're hunting for should say 1991. But don't stop there, that's only half the battle. Look closely at the reverse side of the coin, right under the date. It's usually where the mint mark would be located. If you see no mint mark, bingo. Now, don't be too disappointed if you've got a worn-out 1991 penny. Condition matters. If your penny is still shiny, that's a plus. I once went through a whole box of pennies looking for a rare 1982 No Mintmark penny. Side note, I didn't find it, but a guy at a coin show told me that they were hiding somewhere. It was like a treasure hunt, but with more disappointment and less actual treasure. So, why is this tiny, everyday coin suddenly worth $1.8 million? Here's the thing, not every 1991 No Mintmark penny is worth that much, but the ones in excellent condition? The ones that are near perfect or uncirculated? Yeah, they can fetch a pretty penny. And by pretty, I mean life-changing. There's a small group of these pennies that ended up being minted without the mark, and in this case, rarity is the key. You've got a mistake, and collectors absolutely love a good error coin. The 1991 No Mintmark Lincoln penny stands out in a sea of other 1991 pennies, which makes it priceless to the right buyer. And now, don't just grab every 1991 penny you find and assume it's worth a fortune. You'll need to do a little research and maybe even consult a professional. I learned the hard way that just because a coin has a funny look doesn't always mean it's worth big bucks. If you do happen to find one of these rare gems, where should you sell it? Let's talk about options. You can head to a trusted coin dealer who can appraise your penny. Be sure to find someone with a good reputation, though. Trust me, you don't want to be that person who sells a $1.8 million coin for the price of a sandwich. Websites like eBay are a great place to list rare coins. But be careful, some buyers might try to lowball you, so always get your coin authenticated first. Sometimes, you can bring your coin to a collector's event. They're like giant conventions, but with more people talking about pennies than comic books. A friend of mine once sold a rare coin on eBay for a ton of money, but only after he had it graded. Lesson learned, never skip the grading process. You don't want to sell a treasure for cheap just because you didn't take a minute to authenticate it. Alright, before we wrap things up, let's talk about the don'ts. There are a few mistakes I made early on when I started collecting that I want you to avoid. Always get your rare coins professionally graded before selling. The value can increase dramatically depending on the grade. Not researching the coin market, do some homework. The value of coins fluctuates over time, and you don't want to sell something too early or too late for a lower price. Underestimating condition. A coin in good condition can be worth way more than one that's all scuffed up. So, take care of your pennies, folks. Alright, that's it. Who knew that a simple penny could lead to so much excitement, right? If you've got a 1991 No Mintmark Lincoln penny lying around, maybe it's time to take a closer look. It could be worth a ton of money, but remember, the key to success in coin collecting is to stay informed, stay patient, and don't be afraid to do a little digging. Who knows? Your next pocket change could be worth more than you ever imagined, and if you enjoyed this video and want more tips on finding hidden gems in your change, hit that subscribe button. I've got tons more coin stories and strategies coming your way, and trust me, you don't want to miss out on a chance to turn your spare change into serious cash. So, stay tuned, and keep those pennies safe. If you want more tips, tricks, and deep dives into coins worth money, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and hit that bell notification. And hey, if you found that rare penny, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your coin collecting stories.